Black cannabis executive that I feel like is representing the culture the right way and making inroads for more of us to come into the space and find success like they are. Today, I have with me somebody I'm super excited about, Chris Ball. He's one of the few people that I think are building a brand that's going to stay here within cannabis for decades to come. A lot of people are jumping into the space and not really figuring out how to find footing. That's something he's done super successfully and using that platform to bring more of us into the space. So I'm excited to have you on today, my brother.
Thank you for having me, bro. It's good to be here. Good to talk some cannabis and tell my story.
Yeah, of course, bro. So before we jump into just how you structured your company and all the things that you're doing positively, what was your professional background before you jumped into cannabis?
I was an athlete, man. I was playing pro ball for about 6 years, and then I got myself into some trouble and had to go get myself a real job. But we'll get more into that when I tell the story. So I played pro ball for about 6 years, and then I was in the entertainment industry. I was road managing a couple artists before I jumped back into cannabis back in 2014.
Okay, dope. Yeah, I was in the music industry myself before I jumped into cannabis. What are some of the similarities you see? Because it's really an art form to, really marketing music the right way as well as cannabis. What are some of the ways your skill transition?
I didn't really take too much from the music industry per se, if I'm being completely honest. I took a lot more from my football career and growing up playing sports and applied those practices into my cannabis business, which I think has had a huge impact on my success.
Okay, dope. So we can jump into your business, which I'm super excited about. You're one of, if not the only social equity vertically integrated company in California, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So for our viewers who don't really understand what vertical integration is, especially in cannabis, like give us an overview of that, like how much you guys have really fleshed out being able to process cannabis and operate at retail.
Yeah, for sure. So, what vertically integrated means is that I own every aspect of the supply chain, right? So, in Los Angeles, there are a few different licenses. There's a cultivation license, which allows you to grow. There's a manufacturing license that allows you to make extracts, do pre-rolls, stuff like that. And then there's a distribution license that allows you to distribute your product to retail locations. And then there's the actual retailer, right? The stores, the shops, the cookies, the catalysts, all these the Dr. Green Thumbs, all these dope dispensaries. So for me, with Ball Family Farms, we own 3 licenses of the four I just named off, right? So we own cultivation, manufacturing, and distribution. So that means I'm keeping the money inside of my company, right? I'm growing my own product. I'm paying myself to distribute my own product. I'm also paying myself and using my own material to do my manufacturing and create my extract. So, if you don't have that, if you're not vertically integrated, then a distribution company can come along and charge you, 15 to 20%, to distribute your products into retail locations. Well, we do that ourselves. If you don't own, if you're not a cultivator and you don't own, a cultivation license, well, and you're a brand, right? So let's say like the big homie Al, with Viola, they have to source, they got to buy. I think they're getting their cultivation situation set up now. I know I'm probably going to be doing some cultivation for Al, but that's some stuff we got, we're working out to come down the pike. But, if not, then you have to go out and you have to source your product from other cultivators. So, vertical integration just means, you own every aspect of your supply chain. You're completely independent. You don't have to worry about or depend on anyone else but yourself. You know what I mean? So it's a way to control your market and control your brand.
Man, you make that sound amazing, and it is real power in that. But I think some people probably hear that, and I'm sure you get questioned a lot about it. It's like, oh, I want to jump in and do that. I want to get my licenses. I want to have a vertically integrated company. What was that process like? The timeline, maybe a general dollar amount, man. What was that sweat that you had to put in to get to this point?
Brother, great question. I hear a lot of people asking, or saying the same thing you just said. Hey, I want to jump into it. Seems like it's a great business. Seems like it's going to be very lucrative. And let me just say for everybody who's listening or watching, that process to do that was grueling. Okay. It is not easy. First and foremost, it cost me $36,000 to apply all 3 of these licenses. Okay. These licenses were $11,000 a piece plus tax. Okay, so that's first and foremost. If you ain't got 36 grand just sitting around somewhere to even obtain the license, to pay for the city and state fees for the license, you ain't got no shot. Okay. And then to be able to navigate through that social equity licensing application, bro. Like, I'm a firm believer, man, that the social equity program is a great idea, but it's got a lot of holes in it, bro. You know what I mean? Like, had I not been smart enough to go, to go get me someone to help me navigate through that social equity application process, I would have failed at it, and I'm a Berkeley graduate, what I'm saying? I'm not a person without an education, you know what I'm saying? I know how to read and write at a higher level, but the verbiage, in that licensing process, and the due diligence that we had to have and do, and thank God that I found my COO now, who Ebony Anderson, because she worked for the city by trade. That's what she did. She was an urban planner by trade when I met her, so she understood city ordinance. She understood processing. She understood licensing applications. So when there was language in there that I didn't understand, she knew how to translate that information to me so that we can navigate through that process together. But it was extremely difficult even for her. So I believe that that process was actually set up for social equity applicants and for people to fail. I think I'm a conspiracy theorist myself, so I think they put this thing out there and for them to be able to say, yeah, we gave you your shot, but you just couldn't get through it. And luckily for me, I was not one of those people. My relentless pursuit of what I was trying to do enabled me to get that done.
Man, that makes perfect sense, man. I wish this was a 2-hour episode so we can really dive into how thoughtful you've been in structuring your business, because you're one of the few guests I've had that I've never had the pleasure of meeting, but I do follow you and what you've been able to accomplish. I was actually preparing for this conversation. I was reading your conversation in Forbes when you were talking about how much you enjoy the growing process and how seriously you take, you know, your flower and what you produce and put out to the public. Where did your passion for cannabis come from?
Man, it all started, bro, when I was, I got introduced to cannabis when I was about 10, and it was the funny smelling cigarettes that my dad used to smoke after dinner, after he would eat. I was very familiar with regular cigarettes was because mom smoked regular cigarettes, you know what I'm saying? But when dad would roll his up, they just kind of smelled different, So that's when I first, started getting wind of it. And then I would recognize that smell and see that same cigarette at, family barbecues, Christmas time, Thanksgiving, auntie, uncle, cousin, whoever was over hanging out, they was all smoking dad's funny smelling cigarettes. So, that's when I got my first introduction into what it was, into what weed was. And then when I turned 16, my cousin Earl was the neighborhood weed guy, and this was my cousin, and cousin Earl always had fresh Jordans and fresh white t-shirts and, new era fitted hats and chains. And I wanted, I was fascinated by cousin Earl. So, I asked cousin Earl, yo, man, throw me a zip and show me how to get down. And he did. And I wasn't very good at it at that time, though. I was still in high school, kind of around, and I probably sold half of it, gave half of it away. But I was like, maybe that's not for me. Fast forward to when I graduated, my mom's told me that, my parents told me they couldn't afford to send me to college, so they were like, you got to get a job, or if you're going to still try to go to school, you got to go to a junior college, community college or something. So I was like, okay, I still wanted to play ball, what I'm saying? I wanted to play football and get to the league. So I enrolled in junior college, and I knew this time, I was going to need some help because mom couldn't afford to help me. So I hit up cousin Earl again. I was like, yo, man, let's run that back. You know what I'm saying? But this time I had graduated. I was a little bit more mature and the stakes were higher. I knew if I couldn't make this work, I wasn't probably going to be able to get to school. Right. So he shot me another zip, and this time I made it work. You know what I'm saying? And I just sold weed out of my backpack all through junior college to put myself through school, buy my books, pay my tuition, put gas in my car, put food in my belly, and fortunately, buy some Jordans here and there, So that's where, that's when the love for it actually started to build inside of me, because it was something that, I felt like I was using to get myself to another level in life. So once I got my football scholarship to Berkeley, I was like, okay, I'm done. I've succeeded. I did what I needed to do. Let me put this down. Let me go ahead and go to Cal. Let me play ball. I'm gonna spend 2 years here playing ball. I'm gonna get this degree. I'm the first kid in my family to go to college. So family was extremely excited. Moms was overjoyed. I said, let me go in here, get this done and get to the league. Graduated from Cal, wind up getting into a little bit of funk my senior season, so I didn't play as much as I should have, and wind up going free agent. I went into training camp with the Niners, got released. What I'm saying? They sent me over to NFL Europe. I played a season over there, which was cool. I was in Berlin, Germany, and then I came home and signed a deal in Canada, over in Vancouver, in British Columbia. And this is where I really got bit by the cultivation bug and fell in love with the plants, because before then, I was just getting weed from Cousin Earl and flipping it, right? Once I got to Canada, I saw weed from seed to harvest. A buddy on the team had a grow. And once I saw that, man, once I saw that plant go from this big to harvest with all them buds on it, and then, him selling it and him making money off of it, I was pretty much hooked. So in Canada, in the off season, what we would do was, when the season was over, we was able to buy weed up there for $800 a pound. All we had to do was get it across the border and get it down to LA. So we would use our football credentials to hop the border, over in Bellingham, right? So we would pick it up, we'd take our football money, buy about 10, 20, 30, 40 units, hit the border, show our football credentials. Oh, just going home for the weekend, oh yeah, welcome back, go home, drop it off, move it, come back up to Canada, to re-up. So at that time, this is when it really became a thing for me, because I had started making more money moving the weed than I was playing football. And so I did that for a while, man. I did that for a couple of years until I actually, became really famous down in Los Angeles. I was the football player with the Packs. I was able to undercut the market and get everybody's clientele, until I eventually attracted the attention of the federal government and caught my indictment in 2010.
Bro, this is a complete side note from our conversation, but you need to have a movie about your life, bro. Like, for real, I'm over here like, what? So, man, it's so much I want to peel back, because, I'm in the space also, my company, we kind of do more like media partnerships and stuff. It's so much, it's so many parts around the industry that we can build out as people of color, bro. But the thing that I want to talk about is, I think, and I'm sure you're aware of it, I think that experience, just figuring out how to build yourself up within cannabis through the traditional market, I'm sure that transitioned over to how you were able to market Ball Family Farms, because a lot of people are great at cultivation, but they're not great at branding. They're not great at creating a relationship with the customer. They're not great at having a continued relationship with the customer. That's something that I think you found out. What was that process for you to say, okay, I have great product, I understand how to get it in front of people, but how do I make these people choose Ball Family aside from everything else on the shelf?
You know what it is, man? You know what it was is that I knew, from trapping for so long, and being in rooms with other trappers and losing that competition. When you go into a room, when you trapping and you walk into a room to a client and you trying to sell your packs, right? And there's two other guys sitting next to you waiting to meet this guy, or y'all coming in and out, and he's obviously going to pick the best pack in the room, that's priced at the best. So losing that competition so many times in my trap days, and me being an athlete and having that competitive nature, I've been playing ball since I was 8 years old, and just hating to lose. After I continuously would lose that sale, I just started to go, why am I losing the sale, right? And it's not because of me, it's not because of my showmanship, it's because of the weed that's in the bag. And that's what really started to help me figure out that it's what's in this bag is what's most important in this industry, right? If you can hone in and have the best pack in the room, you're gonna win, you're gonna get the sale. So fast forwarding that and transitioning that over into the legal space, when I first came into the legal space and got my social equity license in 2018, I came out with one strain, right? And everyone told me, oh, that's crazy. Now it's rec. You got all these big companies coming into the space. They got all this different type of weed, all this pretty packaging and stuff like that. And I had one strain, right? I had one strain. I had my Daniel LaRusso strain. And it took me a second to find that strain. And I said, I'm gonna come to market with this. And they were like, you're not gonna win. And I said, you're crazy if I'm not gonna win. I said, the reason why I'm gonna win is because this is some of the best weed on the market. And they said, well, you can't name it Daniel LaRusso. You're only marketing to yourself. You're in your 40s. These millennials don't know who Daniel LaRusso is. I said, so what? I said, that don't matter. It don't matter who Daniel LaRusso is. It matters what's in this jar. I said, I could call what's in this jar. I could name the strain, right? I said, and if that's the best thing in the store, if that weed in that jar is the best weed in the store, they're going to come back next week and go, hey, man, let me get that shit over there. right? So, and that's all I did, bro. I knew what my customer wanted from being in the game, from growing up in the game. I knew what great weed looked like, what it smelled like, what it tastes like. And I don't even smoke. Ironically, it's the strangest thing because I'm not a smoker, but I can look at some weed and tell you exactly how it was grown. I can tell you if it got PGRs in it. I can tell you if it has mold in it. I can tell you everything there is. I can tell you what strain it is, what it was probably crossed with, what nutrients you probably used on it, all of that stuff, because I just studied it so hard. I became obsessed with it because I became obsessed with wanting to win the sale in the black market, right? Once I got the license, bro, I just transitioned that energy that I learned in the black market into the legal market, and it took off.
Man, that's amazing, bro. Like, and even the way that you narrate it, you really show your aptitude for it, how you can process information and position it to where you can win from it later. I think that's the greatest trait of a business person. Is like I can process either my mistakes or your mistakes, but as long as I can process it, I can figure out how to navigate around it in the future. But another interesting thing about you is in California, most of the time the successful brands are based in the Bay, right? You're down in LA and you figured out how to still become a prominent name in California. Like, what's kind of the differences that you saw operating out of LA versus, let's say, Oakland or San Francisco?
Yeah, shout out to the Bay Area, man, because there's some heavy and talented growers and brands based out of the Bay. The Bay is where it's at. And me being a Berkeley guy, going to school up in the Bay, up at Berkeley, I knew that. You know what I'm saying? So I have a little bit of that culture inside of me. You know what I'm saying? Don't get it twisted. I was up there for 3 years, you know what I'm saying? I spent a little time in Frisco. So I understand that culture. But just being down here in SoCal, man, I mean, Southern California is the Mecca, right? It's OG, it's ocean grown, right? We ride along that water. So coming down here and learning how to grow and having to be competitive in Los Angeles definitely made me who I am today, because it'd be different if I was growing, somewhere in Colorado or somewhere. The competition isn't as fierce. The guys that you got to go compete with to sell that bag over there is completely different than the guys you compete with to sell a bag over here. So all of those things, that level of competition, that when I'm walking in the rooms in Compton, when I'm walking into rooms in Hollywood, when I'm walking in the rooms in the Valley, and trying to sell my pack, everybody down here, these growers down here get down, bro. We take this very, very serious because we're proud of it. We're proud of the weed culture in Los Angeles. We're proud to be the #1 market, on the planet, so I think, just having to deal with that, what I'm saying, and having to compete at that high level, what I'm saying, it's kind of like sports, right? You might be good in high school, but once you get to college, everybody good. And then once you get to the pros, everybody's good. You know what I'm saying? So your level of game has to elevate. And that's what I did. I kept elevating the game until I found the best genetics, the best strains, the best partners, the best growers. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew what to look for.
Right. And I think your brand and your reputation honestly reflects that. Like, I'm someone who's never had a conversation with you a day in my life, but me being in the industry for a couple of years and kind of being able to tell, like, oh, they're gonna be here. They're not. They're doing it the right way. They're not. You kind of see who comes and goes. But I would love for you to give our viewers some insight on, like, after you build a great foundation in California, kind of what are some of your outlooks and goals, moving forward.
Yeah, man, my goals moving forward, man, are just like you said, right? I'm gonna be the craft niche high-end brand for the people, right? And what I mean by that is that, yes, I want to be the Chanel or the Louis Vuitton of weed, right? But at affordable prices, right? My weed is priced affordably in these dispensaries on purpose. I could price my weed at the highest in the shop. I can price my weed up there with all the cookie strains. I'm in every single one of their stores. I could price my weed up there with the Alien Labs. Shout out to those guys, Ted and those guys over there, awesome growers. I don't price it there because I want people to be able to afford it, because I am a social equity applicant and I come from this. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, I want us to be the brand that everybody, that my people, my followers, my consumers, and my culture are proud of me for, right? They can come in, what I'm saying, on their birthday or whatever. Maybe they can't afford it all the time, but they can come in on their birthday, or, somebody can, grab it for them or whatever. And they can be proud to be like, yo, this is Black owned, Black grown, it's affordable, and it's some of the most fire weed, in the shop. And we get those DMs. I get those DMs. I get DMs from customers all the time saying, man, I'm so sick and tired of your weed not being priced where it should be. these are true connoisseurs. They are telling me I will pay more for your product, ball, but it's so dope that you don't have it priced that high. You know what I'm saying? And believe me, I get backlash from my CFO, who's my brother, that he's like, bro, we could be a lot more profitable. But for me, it ain't about that. We're gonna be okay. We're fine. And there's enough money in this industry to go around, right? We're not broke. Family good, mama's taken care of, family members is working for the company. We straight. You know what I'm saying? It's more about touching the people and touching the culture, right? I'm from this culture, bro. Like, I really give a about what goes in my jar. I really give a damn about my packaging and the names of my strains and bringing the nostalgia and a feel, you know, to the strains and the brand and having people want to connect with us. And, you know, I mean, I'm an outlier, bro. I think like that, you know? So this is fun for me. I was sitting in prison for this, you know, 11 years ago. And now you're giving me a license to do it on a legal platform, bro. I'm gonna pull out all the stops. You know what I'm saying? You should have never gave me money. You know what I'm saying? You heard what did Charlie Murphy say? You know what I'm saying? When he was kicking the couch, you should have never gave you money. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, this is something that, you know, this is a dream manifested for me. You know what I'm saying? I never anticipated on being, you know, my company being where it's at today. I didn't. All I wanted to do was create jobs and be able to take care of my family. It just took off this way because the way I think, right? I think the money is a byproduct of my thinking, right? I really care, you know what I mean? And now the money and the accolades and the fame is just coming. I'm just doing what I loved, what I said I was gonna do and set out to do, right? I'm doing what I love. All the rest of the stuff is just coming.
Right. And you know, the thing that's beautiful about your story, right, is how you just said you employ your family. Your brand name is your family. And when you look at the percentage of Black families that were negatively impacted by cannabis, and then you look at the percentage of Black families who are like currently operating legally, successfully, you honestly might be the only one in the country. You know, like, how do we position more, you know, we talk about generational wealth a lot. That's become a part of our vernacular, but how does that actually become possible in cannabis, to where it's a Ball family farm in every state or every market?
You know, that's a great question. For me, man, I've gotten a lot of offers, you know, to expand, right? But I think just, you know, with the experience that I have, you know, playing sports, being in the music industry, and now being in the cannabis space, you know, I've watched individuals, or I've watched situations go to shit, so to speak, because they move too fast. They expanded too fast, right? They got a hold of some money from over here, from over there, and everybody, you know, they got something good, and then everybody wanted to grab a piece of it, and then it kind of just fell apart. For me, it's going to be a slow walk, right? Because every state that I go to, I'm actually going to go to that state. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get my team. I'm going to train up. You know, I'm training up right now because we just bought 75 acres over in Oklahoma, you know, to prepare for federal legalization. I want to be in the center of the country. So when that happens, I can distribute all over the country, right? But I'm going to do that slowly, right? And I'm going to create generational wealth, but it's going to be at my pace. It's not going to be because I took some VC money from some folks, you know, and was able to cookie cut out my SOP and send it to every single state and just trying to get Ball Family Farm, you know, dispensaries or grows in every single state. That's not what it's about. That's not real, right? When I go to Oklahoma, I'm going to pack up my bags, I'm going to pack up my team, and we're going to go move to Oklahoma for 6 months, so that when you get Daniel LaRusso in Los Angeles, it's the same Daniel LaRusso in Oklahoma. And my footprint and my pulse and my DNA is on that facility. And I think if more people would do it that way, instead of going for the money grab, you would see the quality of the space, the quality of the product in the space, and the brands will be completely different. But there are some other guys who think like me, and that's the way we're going to approach it. That's how you're going to see Ball Family Farms become a national brand and a worldwide brand and a household name. But it's going to take time. The best things come to those who wait, and we're going to be patient and do it the right way so that the people get what they need.
Man, that's beautiful, man. Only thing I will say is, moving from LA to Oklahoma, you're probably gonna be bored as hell. But you know, I love.
I've been out there. It ain't much to do, but right. You know, okay, I have my baby will be out there, my company, so that's all I need.
Right. I do want you to talk about, because I've been talking to a lot of Black California entrepreneurs who really are keen about Oklahoma. And you touched on it a little bit about, just the geographic benefit of being right there. Like, what makes Oklahoma so attractive over these other states that I know you could jump into, like Colorado or Nevada or Oregon?
Absolutely. You know what it is, man? It's the market is very, very immature in Oklahoma, and it's extremely cheap, and it's geographically, centered in the middle of the country, right? The dream is Texas, right? The number one place to be is Texas. Now we know Texas is a red state, and they're very conservative, and they'll probably be one of the last ones to come on board, but they will, right? Once this thing goes federally legal, they will. But Oklahoma is the next best thing to me because, and to a lot of us cats, because the cost of doing business there is so cheap. There's so much land that's very, very cheap. The state taxes are extremely cheap. The employee taxes are extremely cheap, but the price of the product is exactly the same, right? So if I can produce what I'm producing in LA for a third of the cost, then my profit margins, I'm making an extra, 60, 75%, and that's why everyone is shaking out to Oklahoma. There's a whole bunch of land, so you can just build and build. The regulations there from the city and the state of Oklahoma are not as strenuous or as they are here in California. California rapes us, bro. Like, people don't really understand how we get done here in Cali, as far as taxes, as far as the regulations, as far as the employment laws and everything like that. They make us jump through every hoop possible. But in Oklahoma, that state seems like they want us there. They're very, very in tune with what's going on, and they're very forthcoming with everything that they're doing. So, you want to get a power upgrade here in Los Angeles. I've been in the queue for a power upgrade in Los Angeles for over a year. I went to Oklahoma and applied for power. They said you'll have it in 60 days. It's just different, and it's a fraction of the cost. So that's the big benefit with going over to somewhere like Oklahoma.
Okay, man, that makes perfect sense. I always wondered that, but nobody ever really drilled down into it like that. But man, wrapping up, bro, I will just say that I think you're one of the prime examples of how to structure yourself in cannabis and maintain your integrity to grow, to have consistent customers and really be able to expand and win, because everybody's not going to win in cannabis, but the ones who figure out how to do it are going to really be consequential. And I know you and Al and Burner, you are the guys who have figured it out. So I would love for you to give our viewers where they can start to follow you and your story moving forward.
Absolutely, man. And thank you for those compliments again. Like I said before, man, I didn't see this coming. This is not, I didn't come into this space and go, I want to be the biggest, Black owned brand and all of that, man. I came into this space with the purest of hearts and just wanting to set something up to where I could take care of my family and do something that I love, But so it means a lot to me to hear you say that, and sometimes I don't really what you call it when you stop and smell your own roses,
Right.
because I'm so busy working and so busy trying to, help other people and get Ball Family Farms to where it is, and maybe incubate this person to give this person the correct advice, that I never stop and look around and see how much I've accomplished. So, to hear you say that really means a lot to me. So I'm humbled by that, and thank you. But if people want to follow me on IG, it's at Chris Ball 45. If you want to follow Ball Family Farms and the brand and keep up what we're doing on IG, we're at Ball Family Farms. And then if you want to, grab some merch or just find out what locations we're in, you can go to our website, www.ballfamilyfarms.com.
Perfect, man. I genuinely appreciate you coming on and sharing your information, man. And I look forward to seeing your story develop more.
Thank you, bro. Thanks for having me. I look forward to meeting you in person one day too. So thank you, my brother.
Thank you, bro.